Media. Hello and welcome to the Mostly Media podcast, where we talk media mostly. Today is a little bit of a spookier episode, even though it's May. It's May, yeah.
Halloween in May.
Before we really get into this, I want to continue my tradition of that I started a few episodes ago, where I've done it once. I wanted to make it a every episode thing, but I've only done it once, and that was like 4 episodes ago. It was like a weekly update.
Yeah.
Like, just like, what's going on?
Okay.
So, like, do you want to explain what we have going on this week?
Yeah. Drum roll, please. We're getting married again.
Whoa. I'm not wearing my ring.
Oh.
It's over there. Continue.
So Cole and I are already married legally and in God's eyes, but we're having our little wedding celebration with our family and friends on Saturday.
Correct.
And this is what we were going to actually get married on this day, but we decided to surprise everyone in November. And yeah.
Get secretly married. So we're married, and that's what's happening this week. We've
been busy.
We've been very busy, as I said.
But yet he still wanted to squeeze this podcast in.
I've already missed 1 episode. I had to skip a week.
Yeah.
And this is what, the 9th episode? I feel like that's 2 episodes before you've even hit 10 episodes is crazy. So I wanted to make sure to get this one in there.
Yeah. Also, my nails are freshly done, so I feel like a bad bee.
Mine too.
He actually did.
Yeah, I went and got a manicure, but the woman cut me and I was bleeding. It hurt.
It's just the color he wanted, spicy red.
Yeah. Blood red.
Blood red.
Blood red. Okay.
Speaking of blood.
Speaking of blood. Okay.
I haven't even seen the movie.
Whoa, spoilers. Okay. For this episode, you didn't want to do this.
Mm-mm.
I fought for this, and I'm forcing you to do it.
Yep. Yeah.
So, if you read the title of the episode, and if you saw my post on Instagram the other day, we are going to be talking about the movie Hereditary. I enjoy this movie. It's not like my all-time favorite movie, but like it's a 5-star on Letterboxd. I'll tell you that. I really enjoy this movie. It's a good watch if you are into it. So you kind of know almost nothing about this movie.
Correct.
Only from what I've told you, minimally.
Yeah.
So, I last night sat down and I watched the entire movie and took notes of just like the plot lines, character stuff, and kind of like plot points and like hidden details that on your first watch you wouldn't really catch on. So you're kind of getting like the perfect bubble of this story, because if you watch this movie, there's aspects that I've written down here that you wouldn't understand if you just watched the movie from start to finish. Like it takes 2 watches to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even remember that. I couldn't connect it. So you got like premium access here.
Okay, I feel like I'm already fading away.
What do you mean? Like you're losing interest?
Yeah, and I just keep listening to what Oat's doing out there.
He's having a fun time. Just don't worry about it. Well, you're about to get really sucked into this. Okay.
No. Am I gonna be scared?
I was typing this out last night and I was like, she's gonna be a little spooked.
I can't do this.
It'll be okay. I'm here for you, baby. No. It's okay.
2 days before we're getting married again.
I'll protect you. Okay. So, do you have anything you want to say before we really get into this? Because I have like 6 pages of notes I need to get through. So this is going to be a bit of a long one.
No.
I'm going to try to make it go. I'm probably going to
Can't be more than 30 minutes.
I'm probably going to read through this so fast.
Yeah.
Because
I have
in
things to do.
In my head, I was typing this out and like, I'm going to take so long to read this, and I'm probably going to finish a page in 2 minutes. You're going to be like, what?
Okay. And if it's really scary, give me a warning.
Okay, I'll just say this now. This is a trigger warning. There is a lot that could be triggering about this movie. For anybody watching, that a trigger warning for suicide, gore, possession, demons, all that crazy stuff, blood. There's a lot going on.
What a wedding gift making me listen to this.
Don't you worry, baby girl. Don't you worry.
Baby girl.
Baby girl. Okay, we'll get into this. Okay, so Hereditary, it was directed by Ari Aster, who is...
You're going to say Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande made this movie. Yeah. No, the film is by Ari Aster, who is the director of my favorite movie of all time, Midsommar.
Mm-hmm.
And now recently, this is kind of perfect timing, Beau is Afraid, his third movie with A24 just released, 2 weeks ago?
Okay.
So it's good timing. So as I said, from Ari Aster through A24, it was made in 2018.
Okay.
That's
the background.
Not even the background. I guess it's kind of the background in quotes. Okay. And now I have a preface. This is a preface before we get into it. It is.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Who is that?
Maddie texted the group chat. Maddie. Okay. The preface, very short. The first page is the preface.
Okay.
So the preface is the summary, which is Hereditary is a film about the Graham family after the passing of the mother's mom, or the children's grandmother. Mm-hmm. Odd behavior starts to become apparent of the people around them and the family themselves. At its core, Hereditary is a film about what you inherit through your family. Okay.
Okay.
That's the basic premise without giving really anything away.
Okay.
Okay, so after that, I have characters, kind of the biggest players in the game. First, there's Joan, played by Ann Dowd. I'll get more into
Joan Rivers?
She doesn't have a last name. Her name's just Joan. I'll just kind of leave her at Joan for now. We'll circle back to her when she becomes a part of the story.
Okay.
I kind of put these as almost least important to the story, even though that's not really a thing. It's just not one of the biggest players in the story wise to the most important characters.
Okay.
So there's Joan first. Next we have Steve Graham, played by Gabriel Byrne. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He's the father of the family. Then we have Charlie Graham, played by Millie Shapiro. She's the daughter. Then we have Peter Graham, which is the son, played by Alex Wolff. And the main character, I would say, of this movie is Annie Graham, which is the mother. She's played by the amazing actress Toni Collette. Her acting in this movie, I'll say right off the bat, was award-winning, amazing. Really good acting. Okay, now we're just going to get into this because I don't know how long this is going to take. Okay. Plot. This is where we're getting to the plot. Okay, so on the opening of the movie, it opens to a black screen with text. What's Oat doing?
I don't know.
Okay. It opens to a black screen with text. It's an obituary for Ellen Taper Lee, which is the mother of Annie, the grandmother, which is establishing that she has passed away before the events of the film took place.
Okay.
From there, we go into a house, and we pan into a miniature scale model of a house, and it transitions from that scale model into one of the actual rooms of the house. And there's stuff happening. It's the day of the funeral for the grandmother, and they're kind of getting ready, doing all that, just getting ready to leave. And Charlie was found by the dad, Steven, sleeping in the treehouse, and he tells her, "You're going to get sick, you're going to get pneumonia and die." Mm-hmm. And she says verbatim, "That's okay." Right to his face. And then from there, there's a little bit of other stuff that happens. I'll say this before I really get further into the story. There's a lot of not really vital scenes. I would say every scene in this movie is vital, but smaller things that I can't really tell you all the little details about. That I'm going to skip over a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking so fast already. I need to...
You gotta talk fast if you have lots of stuff.
I know, but I'm going to lose breath and I need lubrication.
I'll just say.
Yeah, you just chime in every once in a while if you see I'm dying up here.
This is kind of off topic, but I got this really chilly, cold air bubble around me, and I was like, oh my God.
The window's open.
And then I realized the window was open.
You're good. I got you. Okay. Okay, now we are in the funeral scene. Annie is giving a eulogy for her mother. And when she's up there, she realizes she doesn't recognize half the people that are there for the funeral of her mom, and states that in the eulogy that her mother was a very secretive person that had a lot of private rituals and private friends.
Okay.
From there, the funeral introduces two main know aspects of Charlie's character, the daughter. While we start this, I'm going to try to really knock in who these names are so you can understand. Do you know the names that I'm saying so far?
Annie's the daughter.
No, Annie's the mother. Annie, mother, mother. Charlie, daughter. Ellen, grandmother. Peter's
No,
son.
that's what I meant. Annie is the daughter of the person
Oh,
who died.
yes.
Yeah. And then
And
Charlie,
then Charlie
is her daughter. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Peter's son, Steve, father.
Peter Griffin.
No. Okay. So I just want to make sure I'm not just like throwing names out at you and you're confused. Okay. It introduces two vital aspects of Charlie's character right off the bat. She has a tick, which is like the clicking of her tongue, like it's, yeah, that. Have you seen that, like in any of the trailers or anything?
No.
Well, that's like a vital care. Like
Okay.
she does it just randomly all the time.
Okay.
The other aspect is that she is allergic to nuts.
Okay.
Okay. Moving from there, we're back at home. We learn that Annie is the one creating the scale models of these things. That's what she does for work, and she also creates like models of like traumatic moments of her life, like to work through the emotions and stuff. She makes those memories. Like her mother lived with them when she was closer to death. She was like, I think they said she had dementia, and she was like she was losing herself. And so she would make like dioramas of like her bedroom and her mother just standing in the doorway watching them sleep.
That's creepy.
Yes. And and I said that's why she's making a model. She made a model of like her mother in the hospital, like on hospice, like scale model. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And during this home scene, after the funeral, you're really getting the sense that nobody's really sad that the grandma has died. Like they don't really have a connection to her except for Charlie.
Okay.
And Annie goes and talks to Charlie at like the end of the night when she's in bed, and Annie tells Charlie that like you were your grandmother's favorite. Like she loved you the most out of anybody in this family, and to the point that Ellen, the grandmother, would refuse to let anybody else feed Charlie. And later in the movie, you see like just a picture of Ellen feeding Charlie with a bottle that's filled with like black herbs, and that just the overall sense that the grandmother wanted to keep Charlie close to her. And Charlie even states now that her grandma's dead, like, who's going to take care of me?
How old is Charlie?
Charlie, 13?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Peter's like 16. I don't think they ever specify his age. And Charlie was expressing, even though she was sad that her grandma was passed, she states that her grandma always wanted her to be a boy, wanted Charlie to be a boy.
Is that why her name is Charlie?
That I don't know. But like the grandmother would make like little mats, like placemats or something with their names on them, and she put Charles on there instead of Charlie when her name is Charlie. I don't know if that's short for Charlotte though, because like good luck Charlie.
Yeah.
You know. We have 15 minutes on that. Okay. And then when they're back at home after everybody's gone to bed, Annie's just going through her mother's old things, photo albums, books, stuff like that, and she finds a book called Notes on Spiritualism. And inside the book, she finds a note that Ellen had written to her, just apologizing for how secretive she had been and like not telling her parts of her life and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then so the next day, we're in school. Charlie is in class and everybody's taking a quiz. And instead of doing the quiz, she's at her desk like building toys. She builds toys out of like garbage and stuff. Mm-hmm. She's sitting there and the teacher is like, you need to pay attention to your quiz, do your quiz. And right after that, teacher walks away. A bird hits the window of the classroom. Everybody freaks out and it dies.
I think I've seen that scene.
Yeah, that's like one of a big popular scene. I think it was in the trailer.
Okay.
Once class is dismissed, Charlie goes outside with a pair of scissors and cuts the head of the bird off and takes it home.
Really?
Yes, and she notices when she turns around, there was a woman watching her from across the street that she didn't know. Meanwhile, Annie mom is at home and she's finding like doors opening randomly, like the room that her mother stayed in is just like opening, like it was open for no reason. And she found a triangle drawn on the floor and she's finding writing on the walls and stuff. And then after everybody kind of gets home, Steve, father, gets a call that Ellen's grave was defaced after she was buried. And later on in the movie, we find out that someone dug her body up out of the grave. Oh. Yeah. How are you feeling so far?
I'm already freaked out.
Really? I feel like not much is happening.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do this.
This was like we're 15 minutes into the movie.
Oh, gosh.
It's okay. We'll get there. Okay, so now Annie leaves. It's nighttime. She says she's going to go to see a movie. She lied. She goes to like a kind of like an AA meeting, but it's for like grieving individuals.
Yeah.
And while she's there, she is talking to the group about how she's had such a rocky relationship with her mother, claiming that her mom had DID and dementia. Do you know what DID is?
No.
Dissociative identity disorder. It means like, this is a bad example, but like the movie Split, that's what the main character had, that had all the personalities. I think that's, I could be wrong. I don't want to.
Oh,
I'm sorry if
you're
I'm
gonna
wrong
get
about that.
canceled if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, please correct me. Then she delves further into like the other trauma in her family with the group, explaining that at a young age, her father died from starvation. He starved himself to death.
Ellen's husband?
Yes. And her brother killed himself at 16 and he hung himself in
He hanged himself.
Sorry, hanged. He hanged himself in Ellen's bedroom, claiming that Ellen was trying to put people inside of him, but she states that just he had schizophrenia. And then she moved on to later in life. She said that her and her mother had been no contact for a long time, up in like when Peter was born, they were no contact before that, and then they weren't talking to each other again until Charlie was born, and instantly that's when Charlie like became the favorite. And like she stated that her mother hooked herself into Charlie immediately and just like took her away.
Okay.
And then she just starts crying about how like she blames herself and is very sorry for all that her family has endured because of the trauma with her family. At home, Peter gets a text he's invited to a party, and you can see someone standing outside of his window watching him.
There's a window right there.
Yeah, it's just gonna be Blake. It's fine. Okay. Maybe I lose my place. Oh, and Charlie is while this is happening, Charlie's in her room building. Oh, actually, this is the next day. This is daytime. That was at nighttime when he got invited. Now it's daytime. Charlie's in her room building her toys at her desk.
Okay. And
she notices like a light flare like flinging around the room, and then it like shoots out the window. What? You should like react more to that. Not just go.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Give me something here.
Slave.
Slave. Okay.
It's not funny.
And she follows the light flare, and it leads her outside. And she notices what?
Dumb.
She
never follow the light flare.
While she's following it, she sees footprints in their yard.
Okay.
Which isn't shocking. We saw a man staring at Peter outside the window the night before. And then she notices a woman like farther out in their yard, just like burning something. Like it looks like a ritual. Like there's just a woman burning things in their yard.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can picture this, but like their yard, they're like in the middle of nowhere. They're in a giant house in the middle of nowhere, like surrounded like by a forest.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And now this is still the same time. Annie's in the kitchen. She gets an email from work about a model she was commissioned to build for something, but that had been put on the back burner because of her mother's decline and death. And then while she's working, Peter comes to her and asks if he can go to the party that he's invited to, but he lies and says that it's a school thing, that it's like a school get-together.
Okay.
And she insists that Peter takes Charlie with him.
Of course.
And then Annie just continues to work.
Okay.
Okay, now this is where I need you to like strap in here. This is where it starts. Okay. We're like 20, 30 minutes into the film now. This is where it gets started. Okay. We're at the party. Peter took Charlie. Peter finds some friends. He brought weed, and he goes to a different room to smoke with them, and leaves Charlie in like the living area.
Is this where the girl's head gets cut off?
Girl, let me tell the story. Damn.
I didn't know that was this movie.
Okay. He tells Charlie, look, they're serving cake. Go get a piece of cake. And she goes and gets a piece of cake. The cake has nuts.
Oh, she's allergic to nuts.
She's allergic to nuts. Okay, Charlie begins to aspirate and is like trying to get water, drink, whatever, try to fix it. Mm-hmm. She gets to a point where she can't, and she goes to find Peter, who is in the middle of ripping a bong. Do you know what that means?
Smoking weed?
Out of a bong, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And she tells him that she can't breathe. And then Peter immediately leaves with her, gets her in the car, whatnot. Peter's driving as fast as he can to get to the hospital. He says they're almost there. Charlie's in the backseat, like thrashing around. She can't breathe. She opens the window of the car, sticks her head out to get air. They keep driving a little bit. Peter's like, "What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And then there's a dead deer in the middle of the road. Peter swerves to hit it or to miss it. And then Charlie hits her head on a pole on the side of the road, which kills her instantly. Her head was knocked off of her body.
Gosh.
Peter sits there for a little bit and then slowly drives home and goes to bed.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Next morning, Peter is still laying in bed, can't like sleep the whole night basically. Annie goes to leave and gets in the car, opens the door, and sees Charlie's headless body in the backseat.
Shut up.
Yes.
Shut up.
Yes. This is one of the scenes of the movie that is like the coldest, like most heart-wrenching movie or scene in this movie of like all of Ari Aster film history. It's a transition scene of Annie kind of grieving the death of Charlie, and it starts with like her just wailing after she finds the body into like the funeral scene and all that. Yeah. And then at the end of the scene we kind of see Annie starting to sleep in the treehouse that we first saw Charlie sleeping at the beginning.
Yeah.
At night, just to feel closer to Charlie. She has like space heater she turns on, and there's like a red glow in the whole treehouse. Okay, from here we just see kind of their lives trying to continue after the death of Charlie and the family. Peter's still going to school. He's dealing with a lot of trauma. Like he randomly throughout the day can like just see the rear view mirror of I hit the mic, sorry. Okay. Of like Charlie's body in the back seat, and then just starts having like panic attacks.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, moving forward a little bit, Annie tries to go to the grieving people group again to try to talk about Charlie a little bit, but she gets there and tries to leave because she's like, I can't do this. Yeah. And then a woman stops her. That woman is Joan.
Joan Rivers.
Joan, bitch. Sorry, I'm at Cher. She meets Joan. Joan tries to comfort her. I lost my spot, sorry. Oh, she tries to comfort her, telling her that she's coming to this group because a few months ago, her son and her grandson had drowned in a river. And then she gives Annie her number. She's like, if you need anything, here's my number.
Okay.
At this point, you can kind of see Steve and Annie's marriage is kind of getting a little rocky. They're like, there's some tension because Annie goes to sleep with Steve. He tries to like, I don't know if he was trying to cop a feel or something, but he was like rubbing her shoulder. Yeah. And then she immediately gets up, gets the blanket, and goes to sleep in the treehouse. And then we transition, and Peter's in bed same night, and he's watching the treehouse with the red glow from the heaters. Yeah, he's just like looking out his window. It's not creepy. Oh, okay. He's just like seeing that his mom is out there, and then he's just laying in bed, and then he hears a tongue click.
Wait, I just got chills.
I got chills. You sound like Shane Dawson. I have the chills.
I am.
Okay. Next day, Annie's working. She's doing her little models. And then we see a flyer for an open seance get slid through their mailbox door. And while Annie is working, she has like paint. She's painting little models. And the bottle knocks over by itself onto the paper that Joan gave her with her number.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then Annie calls Joan, goes to her apartment, meets up with her.
How'd she call her if paint spilled on the number?
Well, it was spilled on the paper, but like to a point where it was just on the corner, and you can see, and she picked it up and was like, Joan, and the number, whatever.
Gotcha.
Like she's like, oh, here's this number from Joan. Let me call her. She's at the apartment. She's just talking about the death of Charlie. They talk about Charlie and her death and like the state of her body. She's detailing like she was looking at her body and like it was. I don't want to get into the details about it. Yeah. And then Annie takes some medicine, takes a sip of the tea that Joan made her, and she like pulled something out of her mouth. It was like a little black herb from the tea. Annie starts to tell Joan about the relationship between her and Peter, which we hadn't really known to this point was like rocky or anything, just up until the accident or whatever. Yeah. And she explains that their relationship was rocky even before then when Charlie was still alive because Annie sleepwalks. And one night she woke up and found herself in a room, in Charlie and Peter's room when they shared a room. And Charlie and Peter were completely soaking wet, and she was holding a lit match. She had doused them in lighter fluid and was about to light them on fire. And she woke up before she did it. And Peter was like, "What are you doing, Mom?" Okay. And then at home, Steve notices that Peter's having like a hard time trying to deal with what he did. Quotes what he did, because it's not really his fault, but like I don't really know about that. That's kind of a controversial topic. It was his fault or whatever. Okay. And then Steve goes up and finds Annie creating a scale model of Charlie's accident with like her head on the road and like all that. Yeah, but gross. And he's like, "How would Peter feel about like if he saw you doing this? How would you think he would feel about that?" And he tells her that dinner's ready and to come downstairs and eat. Okay. This leads into the most infamous film or scene of the movie, probably. You know this scene. We were talking about it earlier today, I believe. Yeah.
Her monologue.
It's the fight scene between Annie and Peter, where Peter asks if Annie's okay, because it looks like she has something she wants to say, but she's not saying anything.
Right.
And she, he just urges him, like, I feel like you have something to tell me. And there's a little back and forth. And then she says that she has tried to say something, but has failed at saying it, basically. And then I'm going to read verbatim the script here. Okay. This isn't exactly how it's said in the film, because like little changes, but this is basically what it said. Okay. Peter says, "So try again. Release yourself." Annie, "Release you. You mean." Peter, "So fine. So release me. What do you want to say? Fucking say it." Annie explodes at him. "Don't you swear at me, you little shit." "Don't you ever raise your voice at me. I'm your mother. You understand? I've given everything to you. All I ever do is worry, enslave, and defend you. And all I get back is that fucking face on your face. So full of disdain and resentment and always so annoyed. Well, now your sister's dead, and I know you miss her, and I know it was an accident. And I know you're in pain, and I wish I could take it all away. I wish I could shield you from the knowledge that you did what you did, but your sister's dead. She's gone forever. And what a waste. If it could have maybe brought us together, something, if you could have just said, I'm sorry, or faced up what happened, maybe we could do something with this, but you can't take responsibility for anything. So now I can't accept and I can't forgive because nobody admits what they've done." Dang. And I can't give justice to it. I just read it. She was like,
I've seen this on TikTok.
It's like, you've seen her acting. It's amazing.
I cried.
Great acting.
I had no clue what the movie
Powerful
was.
scene. And now you know.
Yep.
Kind of. Okay. And from this, Peter switches the blame to Annie, saying, "You're the one that told me to take her to the party."
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. But then like they're like fighting a little bit, and then Steve like resolves it, and Annie's like, "Fine," and leaves. The next day, Annie's run is working, and she ran to the supply store for her work to get some stuff. And at this point, there's some sidebar. There's two people walking into the store when Annie's leaving, and from the back, it looks like the two main characters from Midsummer, Danny and Christian, and everybody's like, "Oh, cameo!" It doesn't really look like them though. I can show you a picture of what it is, but I don't really know. Okay, and in the parking lot, she sees Joan, and Joan is like overjoyed to see Annie. He's like, "I have to show you something. I need to show you something." Okay. She tells Annie that she met a spiritual medium who performed a seance for her and let her talk to her dead grandson. Yeah. And she tries to get Annie to buy into it to like help her like with Charlie, like get over these feelings or whatever and talk to her. Joan gets Annie to come to the apartment and show her the seance. They begin, and the spirit, quotation marks, quotes, of Joan's grandson, Louis, it's like kind of like a Ouija board thing. Like they have their hand on a glass and they're like, "Move the glass if you're here," and it moves, whatever. And that happens, blah, blah, blah. And then while she's like, "Move the glass a direction to answer this question," while that's happening, Annie's sitting there watching the glass and something moves her hair. Like it moves. And from there, Joan gets out a chalkboard and tells Louis, "Why are you yawning?"
I do be kind of tired.
Are you intrigued though? Yeah. Okay. She gets out a chalkboard that used to belong to Louis and is like, "It's me, Grandma, here, write it." And then on the board, you can see the chalk moving and writing itself, and it writes, "I love you, Grandma," spelled ILUVYUGRAMMA. Okay. I just like the spelling. "I love you, Grandma." Annie panics and leaves, but before she leaves, Joan gives her the instructions of how to do the seance. Annie is driving home in her car and she hears a tongue click in her backseat.
Oh.
Okay, so later that night, Annie notices there's a trail, like she's in bed. She notices a trail of ants coming from the window through the house. She gets up and follows it, and it leads to Peter in his bed. And he looks at Peter, and his face is completely like smothered in ants. Oh. And then the ants like start like exploding out of his mouth. Meow, meow, meow.
I thought you said meow.
Meow.
Meow, meow,
And then
meow.
Annie is like just staring in horror. Like she can't say anything. She can't scream. She's like, and then while you're looking at her face, you just hear Peter go, "Mom, what's wrong?" Yeah. And then she sees he's just sitting there calmly, and she's like, "What's going on? Where's Charlie?"
What?
Peter asks, why is she scared of him? And Annie says, she confesses that she didn't want to be a mother, and that she was scared and that her mother, Ellen, forced her to have children. She even states that she tried to have a miscarriage with Peter when she was pregnant. Peter asks why Annie tried to kill him, and Annie says just repeatedly, they were like are going back and forth saying these same things. He's like, "Why did you try to kill me?" She's going, "I love you." That's exactly how she said it. Okay. And then while this is like it's switching back and forth to them talking, and each time it switches, you see them getting like more and more wet. And then while Annie's talking, you see a match get lit, and then she wakes up. She was having a dream.
Okay, so I was gonna say, like, did he have ants on his face this whole time, or
No.
Okay,
He said,
gotcha.
"Mom, what's going on?" And the
Gotcha.
ants were gone. He was sitting up.
Gotcha.
Everything's fine. Yeah. But that was a dream. So she gets up and she wakes Peter up, goes to his bed, and like, "Peter, wake up. I'm so sorry. I have to you have to come with me. I have to show you something." She wakes up Steve too. Oh, that's important, I guess. Annie explains to her family that she performed this seance while they were asleep, and she talked to Charlie, and that she needs them to witness this with her so they can like be like, "Oh, it's Charlie, blah, blah, blah,"
Okay.
whatever. And while this is happening, whatever, while they're trying to talk to her, Peter says he can feel he's like, "You guys can't feel that? The air's flexing." And then
Not the flexing air in this room right now.
the window is open. And then she's like, "Charlie, move the cup." And the cup, like before, it was just like going, as you pick up the cup like moved a little bit, but with the cup completely slid across the table. It went whoosh, shot across the table.
Whoa.
Peter starts to panic, and Annie starts rambling like, we need to do this. Like, don't be scared. Like, you have to do this, blah, 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 whatever. And then a glass pane on like their entertainment center, like a cabinet or something, like shatters. Oh. And then they had a candle in front of them, and it shot a giant flame out of it. And then Steve checks under the table, like, "This is a trick. This just didn't happen. Annie's pulling a prank or something." And then you hear Annie like groaning, like, yeah. And then Steve gets up to Annie after he comes from the table, and she starts talking in Charlie's voice. And then she's like, "Mom, I'm scared." As Charlie. And then Steve throws water at her, and it like next scene.
Oh.
This is the next day in school. Peter's in school. He's in his classroom, and he notices light flares moving around the room. He notices that he looks in like the reflection of a window, and he can see his reflection smiling at him. Oh.
No.
And while he's looking at himself smiling in the mirror, here's a tongue click. Steve calls Annie because Peter left and like called his dad, and is like, "I'm being followed by a demon, blah, blah, blah."
Oh, gosh.
And Steve's like yelling at Annie, like, "I have a son to protect. You have to stop. Calm down. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah."
Would you say Steve is a good dad?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Oh, I got shivers again.
when Steve called Annie, she was working on the thing. She was asked to build. Like she was, what is it? I can't think of. Commissioned. She was commissioned to build. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's trying to like adjust a tiny little chair in the set, and it snaps. She loses it, completely destroys the entire almost finished project. And then Peter come home, and Steve finds Annie in like the remnants of like her destroyed workroom. And then that's when Steve begins sleeping on the couch away from Annie. Even though she was probably still sleeping in the treehouse. But I don't know during the dream scene, she was sleeping in her own bed. So I don't know. Didn't really give anything into that. Okay. Then Annie's walking around the house. This is that same night. She stumbles upon Charlie's notebook laying on her bed, and it's like flipping through pages by itself. And she looks at it, and it's like a bunch of drawings of Peter, but every single picture of Peter, his eyes are crossed out with X's. In the other room, Peter is sleeping, and he wakes up to hear a tongue click. And he sees Charlie standing in the corner of his room. She's standing there, and then her head rolls off of her body, and it turns into like a ball, and it rolls to his bed. And then he hears growling, and their family dog's at the end of his bed growling at Peter. And while he's looking at that, hands grab his head and pull him to his bed, like pulling on his head. Oh. And then the door slams and hits the dog and like whimpers, whatever. And then Peter wakes up and Annie's standing in his room, and he's like, why are you trying to pull my head off? And she was like, I'm not, I just walked in here, you know? And then Annie urges Peter, like, don't tell your dad about this. He's going to blame me and like say I'm crazy and like put me in like psychiatric care or whatever. And she states that she's the only one that can fix it. She goes and gets the notebook of Charlie's and takes it to the fireplace and puts it in the fireplace, and it catches fire. And when it does, her arm, like her shirt sleeve, catches on fire at the same time, starts traveling up her arm. And she notices this and takes it out and like stomps the flame out of the book, and her arm stops burning. Okay. I also put in my notes here, she was giving Shelley Duvall in The Shining during this scene. That was a little side note I wanted to put in there. The ones that know, okay?
And I would not know.
No, you wouldn't. Okay, so the next day, Annie tries to go to Joan's apartment to be like, what's going on? Joan is not there, but it pans into her apartment. I don't think Annie can see this, but you can see at her table, there's like a bunch of candles lit, and there's a picture of Peter with the eyes X'd out, I think. No, there's just a picture of the Peter in the Peter. There's a picture of Peter in the middle of the table inside of a triangle, surrounded by candles and a bunch of the toys that Charlie built.
Okay.
Annie goes back home. She's going through her mother's belonging and finds the placemats I told you about earlier with like Peter's and Charlie's name, but as Charles.
Yes.
But while she was at Joan's apartment, she noticed that the floor mat outside of her apartment looks identical to the floor mats and placemats that Ellen had made for the kids. And so she's going through like scrapbooks and stuff, and she finds books about King Payman, which is a demon that takes control of a vulnerable male body. And she also finds photo albums of her mother with Joan. Also, there's pictures in it of her in a wedding dress being showered in gold coins. This is Ellen in the photos. So Annie heads to the attic to, like, I'm guessing, go through other stuff. And right when she opens it, a swarm of flies shoots out of the attic. Sorry, I need a drink. Delicious. And there was a foul scent when she opened it. She goes up and she finds the headless body, like a headless body in the attic with one single candle burning next to it. The body's all black, and she believes it is the body of her mother.
Who? Ellen?
Ellen, yeah. She believes she sees the body of Ellen in their attic with its head gone. I'm sorry. And she also sees a symbol drawn on the wall of the attic, and it is the exact same symbol that her mother's necklace was. It was on the books, and it was also carved into the pole that Charlie hit her head on. Oh. At school, Joan is across the street from Peter's. You don't look okay.
I hate this.
We're on the last page.
Good. Get going.
Last page.
I hate these movies.
It's very good though. It's like cinematically good.
Okay.
It is a very gross premise. At school, Peter's at school. He sees a woman across the street that he doesn't know. It's Joan though. And he's screaming at Peter to get out and to expel him from his body. And then she starts chanting like Latin words.
Joan,
yeah. Oh. To Peter.
Okay.
And
you said he's screaming.
So she was. Sorry.
I think you said he's.
Then Peter goes back inside and he's walking down the hall and he notices a light flare like shooting down the hallway to a room.
Of course.
And then in class, Peter starts hearing clicking around him and it's getting closer and like right in his ear. And then hears a click and his arm like contorts above his body and his face is like messed up. And then he slams his head on the desk and then like is contorted again and his classmates are like, what? Peter, what are you doing?
Stop, I
And then he smashes his face into the desk once again and then it breaks his nose and he just starts like screaming hysterically.
Sick.
Steve comes and picks him up and then he breaks down in the car crying on their way home. Steve does.
Okay.
Peter's asleep in the back. Steve breaks down in the car crying.
Poor Steve.
Like I feel so bad for this guy, Steve. He married into the worst family in the world.
Amen.
Now we're back at home. Steve has gotten Peter home. Annie and Steve carry Peter to his bed, and Annie tells Steve about the body in the attic and is like, I think it's my mom. Steve goes up there and comes down and is like, what the heck? Why did you do that?
Wait, so it really was.
Yeah, there was a body in the attic. He sees the body.
Like a dream.
Yeah, so it's not like Annie's like, oh my gosh, because that's what you think. Like Steve's gonna come down and be like, you're crazy.
But like someone like stole her body in the beginning.
Yes, but we don't know that until this part of the movie.
Oh.
Like at first, it's just like the grave was defaced, and we're like, oh my gosh. But at this point, he gets an email like, here's pictures of what happened. And you see like the dug up grave, and then he's like, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you about your mother's grave. Blah blah blah, whatever. And so he blames Annie for digging up the body of her mother and putting it in the house.
But she didn't.
Not to our knowledge.
Okay.
But I will tell you she did not know. And then Annie is like telling Steve about the book. Like, I tried to burn it and it started burning me. You have to burn the book. I know I'm the problem. Burn the book. Get rid of me. Kill me. Steve takes the book from her and is like, we need to get you somewhere. We're calling the police. And then Annie grabs the book, soaks it in lighter fluid, throws it in the fire. Steve bursts into flames.
Huh?
Steve bursts into flames.
No, not Steve.
Yeah.
Why did he burst into flames?
I don't know.
Why not Annie?
I don't know. I don't really understand why. I think
he die?
Yes, he died.
That's so sad.
After this happened, after Steve bursts into flames, Annie's watching in horror, much to the same like the ant scene of Peter.
Yeah.
And then you see a light flare go over her, and she like, I don't know how she like moves a little bit. She's like, oh.
Okay.
Okay. At this point, skip scene. Peter has woken up in his bed, and he notices the red glow in the treehouse outside. He gets up and notices. Oh, he gets up and he doesn't notice that Annie is floating in the corner of his room behind him. We have 3 more paragraphs. You got to make it through this. You've made it through 7 pages. So he goes downstairs and notices the house is a mess. Their piano is completely flipped over. Like things are broken. The table is like thrown about. And he notices the dead, burnt body of his dad on the floor.
Rip Steve.
Peter turns and he sees a man in the doorway, completely naked, just staring at him.
Oh.
So when this happens, Peter's like shocked. And then Annie runs out of the shadows, chasing Peter throughout the house.
No.
Yes. Peter runs into the attic and locks the door, begging for his mom to stop. And he's going, Mommy, please stop, Mommy. And then it pans through the floor, and you see Annie on hands and knees, levitating on the ceiling, banging her head on the attic door. Like, bang, 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 bang. Mm-hmm. And then in the attic, Peter notices there's a circle of candles placed around the outline of where Ellen's body was. The body's gone. It's just like an outline of the body. Ugh. And in the middle of where the body was, there's a picture of Peter with the eyeballs gouged out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Peter...
I'm not saying much, but I'm like, for people listening, my mouth is wide open. I'm a mouth.
We have 7 minutes on the camera left. We're going to make it through this.
Go.
Okay. He hears a noise and turns around, and he sees Annie hovering in the corner of the attic. This part's so bad.
Please.
She.
No, listen. You're gonna say it so the podcast can hear it, but I'm gonna.
I need to know. I need you to understand what happened, though.
No, Cole. What this kid doesn't understand is I am here alone by myself every night of the week.
I'm here with
Until
you for the next
midnight.
4 days, so you can forget.
No, I don't forget this
Okay,
stuff.
so Annie's hovering in the attic. No. She has a piano wire, and she's
Cutting her head off?
She's cutting her head off with a piano wire.
Okay.
Okay. That's probably as not gruesome as I can get with it. And when he looks down, there's a naked man standing in front of him in the attic and 2 naked women.
Why?
I don't know. He jumps out of the attic window.
Oh.
He falls, and you can see a black shadow leaving the body of Peter. And then you see a tiny little light flare moving through the frame, landing on Peter and like disappearing.
So he died.
And then he wakes up. He sees the body of Annie floating into the treehouse.
What?
And then he clicks his tongue and follows into the treehouse.
Like floats?
No, he walks. He walks.
Okay.
He clicks his tongue and then walks to the treehouse and climbs up. Once inside, he is greeted by several naked people bowing to a wooden figure with the head of Charlie on the wooden body.
The real head?
The real head of Charlie. And then he sees the headless body of his mother and his grandmother on the floor bowing down to the Charlie thing. And then he turns and he sees Joan. Joan removes the crown that was on Charlie's head and puts it on what once was Peter. Joan calls him Charlie and informs him that he is King Payman and that they pray to him. And then they all bow to him now, and then they all chant, "Hail Payman." And that's the end.
Heck no.
Correct.
Absolutely not.
And then, at the very end, I put some pictures in here because I'm fun. This is the scene. They all bow to him naked. He's there. Yeah. And this is when Steve was burning.
So Steve really did get burnt.
Steve really did burn, yeah.
That's Annie.
That is Annie. And then this is the burning scene at the very top. Her standing. This is Steve.
Oh. Yeah. Nice house, though. Wow.
It's a lovely house. Okay. That was it. That was the end of the movie.
It definitely reminds me of Midsummer, right?
It's definitely by the same director. You can tell.
I think Ariana Grande likes being burned alive people.
Yes. I've heard that the newest movie isn't like as horror centered.
Good.
It's more like
disturbing, psychological
not
thriller.
like disturbing, but like what's going on?
Mystery.
Mystery Incorporated, Scooby-Doo.
Anyways, I would never ever watch this movie.
That's why I kind of wanted to do this episode, because I knew you would never watch this movie with me, so I can describe it to you and you'll probably forget about it in a week.
Hopefully. What was the most disturbing scene?
The most disturbing scene?
In your opinion?
Well, there's so many. I'll just, like, any sort of scene with the death in it was, like, shocked. Like, it's the most shocked I've been during a death scene. Like, when Charlie died, it's really like, oh! Because you're not expecting it.
Can I see a picture of Charlie?
Oh, yeah. I won't show you her decapitated body.
I want to see, Charlie and Peter.
I'll just look up Hereditary and show you images.
It's all the treehouse.
Don't look at because it autofilled treehouse.
Oh.
I looked that up to try to get the picture of that I put on the Google Doc. This is Charlie.
Okay. This
is Charlie. That's Annie. Don't look at that one.
Why? Let me see.
This is Charlie and Peter.
Okay, so was he in The Fault in Our Stars?
I think so. This is what I said not to look at. That's Charlie's head.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here's the full fam. Kind of. That Steve, Peter, Ari Aster, Annie, Charlie's over here. I can't zoom out for some reason.
Oh my goodness, why'd you have to show me that?
You literally just said, show me.
Show me.
Okay, so.
You better hurry.
In the next. Is it 3 minutes?
I don't know.
3 minutes, 5 minutes? I think this is 5 or 2. I don't know.
Is this 2?
2 minutes. In the next 2 minutes, quickly try to tell me what you think that was all about.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Or did you want me to explain it to you?
Just explain it.
Okay.
You know I don't understand.
Annie was a leader of a cult.
The whole time?
The whole time. Not Annie. Ellen. Sorry.
Oh.
Ellen was a leader of a cult.
Okay.
And there were many details in there. I was trying to like point you towards that direction. Like Ellen was like this doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
All the like drawing on the walls and the triangle in her bedroom. Right. She was doing that. It's called Hereditary because she's the leader of a cult. She started this family with the intention to bring this demon King Payment into the world. Because he's supposed to like give you riches and like give you
that's why she wanted Annie to have kids.
That's why she wanted Annie to have kids, and that's why she wanted Charlie to be a boy.
Gotcha.
Because by the time she met Peter was too old to like get Payment into his body. So she had to put him into Charlie, and Payment was like so mad that he was in Charlie because he wanted a male host. So she had to set up all these ways to like break down the psyche of her family to get Payment into Peter's body. So I told you that there was the scribbling on the pole, the symbol.
Yeah.
That Charlie hit her head on.
Right.
Which basically insinuates anything this family did, it was inevitable that this was going to happen to them. Charlie was always going to die. They were always all going to die, and Payment was going to come back. That's why it is hereditary. They inherited this terrible thing that happened, all this trauma, through Ellen being this cult leader.
You know, I wish we could keep going because I believe that generational curses are a thing.
We can just start the camera over.
That's true.
Yeah, just start it over. We can delve deep into this a little bit. This is a long episode.
I know.
But what I love about this, I'm not going to have to edit a thing because there was no like dead space.
True.
Probably just the in-betweens where we cut audio.
Yeah. Okay, so generational curses. Do you believe in those? Do you know what those are?
Explain it to me and I'll try to see.
So like basically if we're talking about, for example, my grandpa Steve, his dad, okay? We're talking about him. So my great grandpa.
Yeah.
I don't know him. Okay. But say
Is he dead?
Yeah, he's dead. But this is just an example. Wait, now I'm like, is he dead? I know his mom is dead. I just didn't grow up with Papa Steve really, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I just don't know because you do have great grandparents and I don't. I don't know what that's like.
So say he like lived a really bad life. He like was mean to people. He didn't do good things, whatever. I genuinely think you get like a curse passed down through generations. And like bad things will just continue to happen. But I do think it's an option to break those generational curses if you try real hard. And I do think...
Are you talking about generational trauma?
That's basically like what it kind of is. Curse is a very heavy word.
Yeah, you're
use.
Talking about this like it's a conspiracy. That's a fact.
Yeah, but I think in my family there was a lot of like...
Can you delve deep into that? Because I just need to know like a little example of what you mean by that.
Cheating.
Okay, like I wasn't sure if you meant like curses or like alcoholism.
That too.
Yeah, I said that weird, but like I just
that
that was an example.
Yes. Sorry, but just like not living a good life, cheating, alcohol, drugs.
Yeah.
I think my dad had the opportunity to break that curse.
Sorry to call out Craig right now. Damn. Shout out to Krusty Craig.
I don't know if he completely broke it, but I think I might be the one to break the curse.
You're thinking real heavy of yourself. Let's break this curse, baby.
What'd you just call me? Heavy?
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding. We can break it.
No, wait. When Shimada was on, and I said, there's an elephant in the room. And I was trying to explain that you didn't listen to Boy Genius. Yeah. You said, that's rude. No, did you say me?
I was implying that you were talking about me.
Yeah, but out of the corner of my eye, in my peripheral, I saw Shimada raise her hand. And if you watch it back on YouTube, you can see her just silently raise her hand and then laugh.
Bro.
And it never got brought back up. I wanted to circle back to that, but I forgot.
Circle back.
Okay. But yes, I do believe in generational trauma. Curses, I don't know if I believe in curses.
Okay. Do you have any generational trauma in your family?
My daddy issues. I'm kidding.
Oh, we decided for entrances to the wedding, your parents are coming in first.
Okay.
From outside. and we're gonna go Rick and Morty, and then play Rick and Morty.
We
Rick
are
and
not
Morty.
doing this. No, I am not. I'm not. I did not sign up to the Chug Fest.
Rick.
Calm
Also,
down.
we is me and Morgan, not you and me.
Oh, I think you meant me and my mother, or you and your mother. You and my mother. Damn.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
And then she's gonna go.
I'm Julie.
No, and then Morgan next is gonna go. And now introducing the parents of the bride, Craig and Julie.
Okay, that needs to happen. Rick and Morty, off the list. Mark it off, please.
Rick and Morty.
Morgan, if you're listening, stop.
Bruh, she
It
could
comes out
listen to
tomorrow.
it before
Today, I guess it comes out today, but for us, it's tomorrow. We're filming this Thursday night. I have to edit this tonight.
Well, you just said you don't have to edit much.
Yeah, I
I have
did say
to
that.
edit more than you.
Bah. We saw some goat today.
And we saw,
We saw Dawn.
Dawn.
What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Okay. Do you have any last comments about Hereditary before we move on
Oh yeah, sure. Move on.
to the outro?
Oh. Seems like a great movie for people who are screwed up.
Bombastic side eye, criminal offense side eye.
Who do I look like? I feel like someone when I'm doing this, but who do I look like?
Have you ever heard of the movie The Whale?
Unfortunately, I think I know where this is going.
Then
Do I look like the whale himself?
I will not give any further
Brian
comments.
Fraser?
But if Fraser
Brian Fraser?
say he sink. Hello. Okay. Thank you for joining me on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I really wanted to do this because I knew I was never going to get the opportunity to make an episode about this movie unless I was the one telling the plot.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you get to do this. I do have to say, I hated it.
Oh, I fully knew that. I just needed
But
you to
listen,
experience.
listen,
I needed.
listen.
Okay.
The excitement you get about telling me about a really like a
It
movie
turned you on?
love. No.
Oh.
It's just so cute. You're just so
So
passionate.
it turned
about
you on.
No.
This was jokes.
This is joke.
This is joke with Cole. Okay. What were you saying?
You just walked the prank. This is joke.
We need to have Nate on.
Yeah.
Talk about Pokemon.
No. Talk about try not to cry videos.
Okay. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted.
Never mind. I take it back. You're not cute.
Shoot.
Shoots and at us.
Shooty.
Hey, Cole.
What?
Why do I like the vibes better at night?
In here?
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be better at daytime. I like it though.
Yeah, I do.
I've been trying to say this for like 5 minutes. Circling back.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to talk about this movie on the podcast so bad because it's a great movie. I knew I would never get the chance. And I forced our friends to watch Midsummer, and I knew I couldn't put them through this as well.
Oh gosh, no.
I honestly think this one's worse than Midsummer.
It sounds like it, yeah. It
Like
does. Midsummer?
Midsummer had its moments.
Yeah, which I didn't watch because I told you to.
Yeah,
Let me
but
know
this
so
way
I
you
could
get to know
block
what's
my
happening, but you don't have to see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Belch. And I just knew I couldn't put our friends through that, and
Oh,
I once again apologize. I'm sorry, Grace, Maddie, Morgan, and Hunter at the end.
Bruh, Hunter walked in right during a
Right
big
during
old...
the conception scene is what I'll call it.
Ugh. That movie was sick.
Director's cut slapped though.
But it was like cinematic and nice and all.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's the same thing. The same director. It's very much the same thing. Like after Charlie dies, the funeral scene. They're standing around the casket and it's getting lowered into the ground, and the camera's going down with the casket, and then it transitions
to the dinner scene.
through the dirt. No,
Oh,
through the dirt into like the funeral at their house scene. Like it's like a great transition.
that's cool. Are there like a lot of oh, what's it called? I don't know. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind. All right. Get us out of here, brother.
I think we're done.
Finally.
This is a long one.
I know.
Okay.
That's what she said, though.
We're done here. Okay. I think in the last 2 episodes, I haven't been able to like get the very end of like the like this has been mostly media here. Where we talk media mostly blah blah blah. Like, but I've messed it up the past 2 episodes, and it gets cut off to us just screaming, just like ah.
Okay. Go.
Okay. Thank you for watching. If you did,
Or listening.
yeah, I guess listening. I'm just so used to YouTube because I'm a YouTuber. Thank you for enjoying. If you got this far, podcast, whatever. This has been Mostly Media, where we have talked media mostly. Thank you for doing that. That was sexy.
That was sexy.
Okay,
fine.
goodbye.
Bye. Ay, ay, ay.